Victor here, going over the Skywalker attack. Now, I must say, this opening begins like this. Yellow moves over here. The idea is coordinate attack on blue's light squares, with the queen and the light squared bishop for yellow. So, the guy that invented this opening, he doesn't call it the Skywalker attack. He calls it the Scandanavian attack. And two things to note. First thing, I'm his friend. Second of all, his first name is Luke. So as a means of trolling him, I call it the Skywalker attack. But he calls it the Scandanavian attack. Just something to be aware of as a viewer. So going forward with the Skywalker attack, which he believes is actually bested by this variation, I say I don't think so. So the idea here as blue and green is to meet that threat with a checkmate threat on red. So Luke stated in his video, and there will be a link to this video in the description, that yellow takes over here next, but I think this is a bad move for three reasons. First of all, both bishops are valuable because they can check the other king. Second of all, when you take the bishop, you give the other queen development. Third of all, not only is that queen developed, it also can threaten checkmate on your king if you want to get your queen out of the game. And as red and yellow, the aggressors, you really don't want to give that kind of power to the other team. So I believe that this is the best continuation, foreseeing this move. And if it continues as such, blue says, I see what you're doing, planning to win the exchange, so I'm going to take now. And after doing so, yellow takes back, of course, prevent the check, and also because light square bishop is worth a lot. Take, check. Blue says, okay, I'm going to take your queen. Yellow says, go ahead, take my queen. Take back. And red says, yeah, you can take his queen because I'll have your rook. And red and yellow are up the exchange in this variation. I believe that the open file for the rook is not good compensation. So I don't believe that's the best opening. Now, if green, after seeing this move, the yellow knight up over here, decides, let's not push the pawn forward. My question is, okay, you don't push the pawn forward, what exactly are you going to do? Keep in mind, red and yellow already have an initiative, already have threats hiding around the corner. Blue needs some help. Yellow can't create threats. Red and yellow are looking to trample over blue. And I could go over why that's the case. I think a better, perhaps, example of why I believe that is the case is, let's look at what happens when green doesn't move the pawn up over here. Now I'm going over this opening, kind of skipping the fact that the green bishop is expecting red to move over here, which doesn't happen, and also looking for a check. I don't believe it's necessarily relevant to go over in this opening. Let's look at what happens when play goes as normal. Now this is the normal defense. Actually, this is considered better of the two because you're blocking off the diagonal from the light squared bishop. So, it doesn't really matter what pawn is up. This is the idea. If you take back, as often happens, take, and then red's gonna swoop on in. Green, being smart, says, okay, let's create a check threat and check yellow, win a move, take. Now, if blue decides to come over here thinking, oh, yellow's in hot water, because after moves over here, I can checkmate him, haha, oh, Oops, we just lost a queen. So it doesn't really work. Secondly, red and yellow are looking to checkmate blue really fast. So I don't believe that bishop takes is a good idea for a number of reasons already described. So in this variation, if instead you move the knight up, this is actually a move that's commonly played. The idea here is let's block off the check, let's move the knight in to block off play on this side, and in the future, let's move the knight up to attack yellow's queen, which does come up, threatening checkmate on green. So green cannot defend on this square because that's checkmate, and blue has no checks on yellow. So green has no choice but to move the knight up there. And here, play continues in a few different ways. And depending on what blue does, play becomes very interesting. This is what's commonly played here, looking to continue the Skywalker attack. Now if blue says, okay, I'll get my queen into play, let's block off the check, I believe this is actually a mistake. Yellow moves over here, green move over here, checks, and red sacrifices a bishop to open up this rank. If blue is foolish enough to take back, then check, and you have to check because if you don't, checkmate, takes, not with the queen, bishop's on that square, and check, and either green sacrifices the bishop or red comes in to cause some serious damage. So, I don't believe that taking the pawn, or rather taking the bishop, after the bishop takes the pawn, is necessarily a good idea. I really don't know how you continue. This is looking seriously good for red and yellow. I think the mistake is moving this pawn up, supporting that pawn, and this crucial pawn, which holds this rank intact. Another idea, move over here. Now, the pawn take is not a move, because, first of all, yellow queen is not coordinated. Second of all, in this opening line, the bishop can take back, and the bishop coordinates very well with the green queen to create some serious problems for red. So in this variation, yellow decides to come over here for a few reasons. First reason, let's sacrifice my bishop, if possible, to create a great attack on the blue king. Second reason, even if that's not the case, I can still come up, have different ideas up my sleeve, and create a checkmate threat on green. So that's the next move. Opens up the bishop, gets the queen active. After moving over there, green has a couple of options. The worst option is moving the knight up, so we're going to go over that first. So in this circumstance, because it's the knight that comes up, and the green queen is not coordinated, this bishop, as stated earlier, which coordinates with the queen, is not as effective, and red can just go in for the capture. Now, if you take back, other way, what yellow does is yellow just sacrifices. Green sees, okay, something's up, I'm moving my knight over here. Red goes over here, follow up. Now if you take back, you're going to enter a world of pain, because even if you check, how are you going to escape checkmate not happening and king moving over? Well, good luck, is all I have to say. So, that's not really working out. Taking back is not a good idea in this variation. You could move over here, but then you just put a check on blue. And the threat is to move the red queen over here. Of course, you takes back, and blue queen is pinned. If the blue king takes, well, that's also going to be really painful. Another quick checkmate. So then what you have to do is you have to run away, and position is looking really strong for Team Red and Team Yellow. Moving in, checkmate threats. King is exposed. 2 active queens. I don't believe the knight continuation is the best. In fact, I'd say better, much stronger continuation is with the green queen. Now the idea here is you see, okay, so this idea is not going to work as well because the green queen can come in and prevent yellow's idea. So what you do is you take back. And over here, okay, checkmate threat. But at the same time, you're thinking, oh, but yellow is still looking to sacrifice that bishop if possible and cause a world of pain for blue. So seeing that red just gave up a bishop, green says, okay, I'll block your checkmate threat, even if it means I lose a bishop. So take back, take, yellow takes, green takes, red says, okay, I'll move over here, temporarily box your queen in with a checkmate threat, attack yellow's bishop. Blue says, okay, I see that, but there are some very serious follow-ups that may occur if you're not prepared. And over here, this, I believe, is probably the best variation for blue and green. Play over here is very ominous. Don't really know how you continue, how you coordinate attacks. I will still say that I believe red and yellow are slightly up because the red queen is more active. Blue has to waste a move to defend that knight to prevent checkmate. And yeah, red queen is just more active, and green is only slightly more active, if even so, than yellow. So that's my video on the Skywalker attack. Hopefully, we'll find a way to overcome this variation someday with the rolling attack of checkmate threats on blue and green. If you like this video, I highly encourage you to watch Luke's video on the Skywalker attack, aka the Scandinavian defense. Skywalker attack just sounds so much cooler, which is why I call it that. And also because I love to troll my friend. Something else too, keep in mind for this opening. If blue decides to move over here, and yellow tries to continue the Skywalker attack, well, it's not exactly going to be the same, because this pawn now blocks off this key diagonal for the red queen. So you take back, check, bam, and then check, rather checking the queen. And after you take, there is no recapture. Blue will come in and deliver a checkmate to yellow king next turn. Sacrifice the red queen, take back, and yeah, things are not looking too hot, because even if after taking you say, okay, but what about the checkmate threat? Blue can still take, and even though that opens the rook for the red bishop, it opens up the rook for the green bishop, which is why green moved over here last turn. So to me, this looks a much more equalist position, and I'm not even sure that the Skywalker attack works in this variation, which is why I did not go over this pawn up for blue. So this is my video on the Skywalker attack. Hope you liked it. If you think I missed anything, feel free to let me know, and I'll catch you next time. Peace out.